Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I would like to talk a little about the recent information regarding 4.0 for the end of the year. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. So recently there was an internal CIG email that was apparently leaked, which has brought up a lot of confusion in the community regarding what CIG were planning for 2023 in regards to the Alpha 4.0 patch. Now the email firstly talks about how Starfield has actually brought more appreciation for Star Citizen and will act as a gateway game for players wanting more, which I do totally agree with. It's always been my sentiment that as much as I am enjoying some elements of Starfield, I certainly feel grateful that Star Citizen has the technology that it does have to allow for that further expansion. But the second part of the email states that 320 is a huge opportunity to improve the Star Citizen experience, as we have seen with the amount of quality of life improvements in Alpha 320, as well as continue the improvements through the 320.1 CitizenCon patch and the 320.2 Intergalactic Aerospace Expo patch, ending the year with a 321 patch on the live servers. Now this does not mean that the 4.0 end of year plan has changed, as outlined by Chris Roberts in the letter for the chairman last year. As he stated there, we are aiming to put static server meshing and pyro into the hands of players in the fourth quarter for 2023, and this has never meant release it to the live servers, only intending it for the PTU, with the Evocati being the minimum. So naturally there needed to be a live patch for the end of the year, and that is the 321 build. Now since I read this letter from the chairman last year, I personally was always hoping for the best case scenario for me being 4.0 PTU, but beyond Evocati for the end of the year. Really hoping for a wave 1 so that we can at least all see videos and streams of it rather than it being covered by an NDA. But I do recognise that even that was a big ask, as they might need to keep it in Evocati for some time. But also CIG have been solidifying their rollout method since 3.18. As we know, it caused a lot of issues, which I will speak about now. We have just received a 3.18 and 3.19 post-mortem, which is a post where CIG break down every patch feature, explaining what went well, what didn't go so well, and how they plan to improve it in the future. And in the post, it mentions that thanks to the persistent entity streaming rollout, they have learnt that preserving the integrity of the game's services is extremely important. So as they begin to roll out the replication layer split and crash recovery, both being necessary steps to get to server meshing, they will do so gradually. And as they begin to deliver server meshing, they will create dedicated testing channels to harden these new technologies further and implement standards and thresholds before pushing them from the PTU to live, of which we will start to see the ramifications of later in the year, as well as learning more about their new approach to deploying potentially disruptive and game-changing new tech to the game service. So it basically explains that the rollout of 3.18 and persistent entity streaming was far messier than they'd expected, as I'm sure we can all agree, but it has taught them a lot, and they are employing new methods to stop that from happening again, with the new PTU wave format being one of these methods, I might add. Now, it does go on to say that they will use this new cloud test launcher tool to adequately stress test the game shards at scale, which is a tool that can simulate player behaviors, allowing QA and engineers to connect multiple modified game clients to the shard to help identify and address issues before moving to live. And that the team who were responsible for persistent entity streaming has moved on to static server meshing, which, unlike PES, can actually be integrated into the codebase gradually, with parts of the server meshing tech already available to the game teams for testing compatibility with their game features. And by implementing these new measures, they aim to enhance their testing capabilities and mitigate any issues, hopefully resulting in a much smoother delivery of foundational tech with minimal disruption to the game. So it is great to hear that certain game feature teams are already testing their work with static server meshing, and throughout the rest of 2023, we will likely see the replication layer get split and crash recovery make its way in, which will be two big wins in their own right, as firstly it'll make the game far more crash resilient and mean players can stay connected while a new server takes over instead of just kicking you out. Plus, it will mean less lag, as the client's refresh of object state will no longer be tied to the tick rate of the server, and should also mean the NPCs are less affected by the server tick rate too. Now, with all of that said, it is of course still very possible that 4.0 could not get into the Evocati's hands this year and get pushed to 2024, which would be disappointing, as I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we want it ASAP. But please do not think that the outlined plan has drastically changed just because we now hear about a 3.21 release. Of course, CitizenCon will give us an update on Alpha 4.0 and server meshing plans, and I really hope it is good news. We are all in need of a big win here, and we all deserve a big win, including CIG, so hopefully it doesn't slip again, and the Evocati can get their hands on it, testing it for the end of the year. But with that said, thank you so much for listening, and if you do appreciate my videos, please do consider subscribing. Also, do come and hang out over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome over there. The link is in the description below. I might even be streaming right now. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members for making these videos possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.